you doing, folks? Doug Rice, baby. Twitware. How we doing, folks? This is the Doug Rice Show. Welcome to the show. My name is Doug Rice, brought to you by Twitware. That's right, folks. Twitware, the only place worth shopping. If you gotta go, you gots to go. Well, Twitware is the epitome of sports apparel, skincare. Twid is the brand, the man doing all that he can. Please visit twidware.com and put TDRS in the promo code for 10% off any purchase of any gear at any time of the year. How we doing, folks? It's me. Set aside the jokes. This is the Doug Rice Show. Welcome. Just so you know, brought to you by Twidware. You see the promo code up there? You see the boxing gloves? Let me show you more love. You see that right there? I can just go all around. I wish I could just go up, down. Anyway, how you doing today? My name's Doug Rice. Twidware. All right, folks, that's enough plugging. Setting aside all the jokes, hopefully you can hear me, hopefully. My name is Doug Rice. Welcome to the Doug Rice Show. Thank you so much for showing up. Thank you for being here. Thank you for making me a part of your year. Oh, stop. Well, you know, I wasn't going to do a show this evening, but I determined, you know what, this is like therapy for me. So I'm going to do a show. I'm going to show you few things that might have some interest. Look, if you are interested in supporting this effort, please, at this point, I'm begging you, use the links below to give to the Doug Rice Show so you can know all the things are go. Okay, I'm done there. All right, so what do I got for you? I got something. I came across an article, and the article is a part of On Reconstruction, a project about America's most radical experiment. Whoa, buddy. You already know, you watch this show, you get the receipts, you chew the meat, you spit out the bone. Leave what you don't believe alone, but I do think this might suffice so much that I'll say it twice. Why, oh why, is America afraid of Black history? Why is America afraid of Black history? Let's remove that so you can see that there. All right, so why is America afraid of Black history? Isn't that a question that all of us have pondered? I mean, they are so afraid of Black history that they want to try to cancel its memory. They want to eliminate the history that America has with Negroes. And the question begs itself, and the reason I'm so adamantly interested in attacking this as a subject is because it's a damn good question. Why is America so afraid of Black history? We're going to find out today. And I think there's a lot that we're going to say about it. So here we go. First things first is I know it's going to do this little thing for me. No, it didn't do it this time. So hopefully you guys can see that, right? Not only that, I'd like you to follow the simple instructions that appear beneath the screen. And if you can't read, let me tell you what I mean. I'd like you to like, subscribe, and share. We're coming up on Sabbath out there. I'm going to try to do this for as long as I can. And I will stop asking for your support right about Sabbath time, right about 5:30. Try to get this done. All right, so why is America afraid of Black history? This story comes from us by Lonnie Bunch III. All right? Now, the editor's note, this article, as I mentioned, is a part of On Reconstruction, a project about America's most radical experiment. As well, I provide this PDF along with any other PDFs that you might be interested in. And all you need to do is show your support to this effort, and we'll send you PDFs again and again. All right, here we go. This article is featured in One Story to Read Today, a newsletter in which our editors recommend a single must-read from the Atlantic. Isn't that nice? Yeah, that is nice. All right, well, let's get into this. Let's see what he has to say. And please like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell right there. It's not going to do you any good because as the notification bell should, this one doesn't notify you of anything. So be that as it may. In all my years doing research at the National Archives, I had never cried. That day in fall 2012, I had simply planned to examine documentary material that might help determine how the yet-to-be-built National Museum of African American History and Culture would explore and present the complicated history of American slavery and freedom. As I read through the pages of the Bureau of Refugees, Freedmen, and Abandoned Lands, the Freedmen's Bureau, as it's usually called, I decided to see if I could find records from Wake County, North Carolina, where I knew some of my own enslaved ancestors had lived. I had a few expectations because I knew so little about my family's history. From a surviving wedding certificate from my paternal great-grandparents, I'd gotten the name of my earliest known family member, an enslaved woman named Candace Bunch, my great-great-grandmother. Scrolling through the rolls of microfilmed documents from the Raleigh office of the Freedmen's Bureau, I realized the chances were remote that I would find my ancestor. But when I turned my attention to a series of labor contracts designed to give the newly freed some legal protections as they negotiated working relationships with their former enslavers, I found a single page documenting a contract between Fabius H. Perry, who owned the plantation next to the one where my ancestors had been enslaved, and Candace Bunch. That page not only filled a void in my knowledge of my family's history, but also enriched my understanding of myself. I was amazed at what a single piece of paper could reveal. For 2 days of farm work in 1866, Candace received $1. And for 44 days of work in 1867, she received $11. The contract also revealed that her daughter, Dolly, was paid $3 for housework. As I read further, the contract delineated what Candace owed Perry for the purchase of cotton and soap. What reduced me to tears was the fact that out of her meager earnings, Candace had spent 60 cents on 2 baker tins, more than the payment she received for an entire day's work. I remembered how my paternal grandmother, Leanna Bunch, who resided in Belleville, New Jersey, had died weeks before my 5th birthday, used to bake cookies in the shape of hearts and crescent moons to cajole me into napping. Did she use the very same tins that Candace had labored to buy? Had that been the beginning of a family tradition? No matter how difficult times may be, always help the children find some joy. With this personal discovery came the realization that documents like these from the Freedmen's Bureau, well over 1 million pages created out of bureaucratic necessity, could help African Americans today better understand themselves and their enslaved ancestors. these records, if made more accessible, could help all of us grasp the challenges, pain, losses, the courage, and the resiliency of a people who had both powered and endured the transition from slavery to freedom. They could bring the grand narrative of Reconstruction to a more human scale. Let me tell you something, folks. This is shaking out to be quite a story. It's something that involves her own heritage, her own personage. And as it develops, I want you to keep in mind that this actually happened. These occurrences occurred to Negroes, to us. This is part of the dynamic they call CRT, critical race theory. It's simply a close examination of history. That's what CRT is, at least to me. And their attempt at taking this kind of history out of the sight of Negroes who have endured and earned the right to read it is, to me, a most heinous crime. I encourage you to put your children in front of these lives. I'll do everything I can to stop cursing, fine. But they're not going to hear this in schools, and they need to hear what we went through, because when the time comes for us to exit, they have to release what they've held on to here for so long in an instant. The decision to leave must be yes or no, and it must be made at the time of the asking. And so it's my opinion that the history that we've lived through, when studied, gives you the needed lubricant needed to release yourself when that time comes. Like, subscribe, share to this effort, folks. I'll be here as long as I can. Here we go. The people we encounter in the records of Freedmen's Bureau call out to be remembered. Their lives, their sacrifices are stories to be revealed and lauded. Stories such as these also provoke discomfort and, in some quarters, resistance. Politicians have been elected by sowing fear about divisive history. Is it divisive to point out that African Americans believed in and struggled toward an aspirational America, an America that had made promises but had yet not delivered on those promises, nor will they ever deliver on those promises? I might add that one phrase. The hope that freedom would transform a people and a nation was captured in a cartoon by Thomas Nast that appeared in Harper's Weekly on January 4th, 1863. Nast's drawing celebrated the Emancipation Proclamation issued by President Abraham Lincoln a few weeks earlier. The left side of the image depicts the horrific impact of slavery, slave auctions, and the destruction of families, back-breaking labor in the cotton fields, a woman being whipped. On the right, the benefits of freedom, the benefits of emancipation. Freedom was never offered. A country at peace with formerly enslaved children attending school. A black worker drawing fair wages, black and white figures showing mutual respect toward each other. The centerpiece is an image of a black family that has achieved middle-class status with well-clothed children and elders sitting by the hearth. Nast's cartoon looked forward to a future where fairness and freedom were the norm. That was the hope of Reconstruction, and the engine of that hope was the Freedmen's Bureau. Reconstruction in this country did, in fact, offer hope to Negroes until they realized that that was what they were offering Negroes. So let's understand the dynamics of what this paper involves. Why is America afraid of Black history? I'm hoping we're going to get the problem solved here. Now, I did not read ahead, as I tend not to do. And so who knows what this paper might say before it's through, but eat the meat, spit out the bone, right? Everything you don't like, just leave it alone. I have my own answers as to why America may be afraid of Negro history. Let's see if his answers coincide with mine. We'll read a little further and see what we find. Like, subscribe, share, do all the things you need to do down there. Let's get at this. I want to see more. On March 3rd, 1865, after nearly 2 years of debate, Congress passed an act to establish a bureau for the relief of freedmen and refugees. Lincoln signed it into law the same day. The bureau, embedded in the War Department, was one of the first federal forays into social engineering, in some ways anticipating the more activist government policies of the New Deal and the Great Society. Little background: New Deal comes from Roosevelt, Great Society comes from Johnson. Simply put, its charge was to protect the basic rights and help provide for the basic needs of the 4 million people who had been until recently enslaved. The value and impact of the Freedmen's Bureau from its inception until it was defunded in 1872 cannot be overstated. At its peak, more than 900 Bureau agents were located throughout the former Confederacy in rural hamlets and urban centers. Among other things, these agents documented the violence that was at the core of white Southern resistance to Reconstruction. So, what do we have here? What we have here is a laid out effort that began in 1865, and it established this Freedmen's Bureau. And I think one can't at least ignore the fact that there was an attempt made to right their act of slavery. But by 1872, they found the whole ordeal somewhat unsavory. And so they defended the whole thing, defunded the whole thing. And at its peak, we see 900 Bureau agents. That's a lot of people. What do? Well, they documented, the violence that Southern whites committed in resistance to this Reconstruction. And why is the real question. Therein lies what I believe to be the answer to why America is afraid of Black history, because it involves so much white history. Well, let's continue and see if we can solve the mystery. They responded to and recorded the desire of the formerly enslaved to confirm their marital standing. They gave food to the poor and the indigent regardless of race. They helped establish Black educational institutions, from elementary freedom schools to colleges such as Shaw University in North Carolina and Howard University in the nation's capital. More than 40 freedmen's hospitals served the sick, the malnourished, and those whose health had been damaged by the conditions of slavery. During a period when most of the South fought to violently overturn the changes implemented by Reconstruction, the Freedmen's Bureau was one of the few outlets where African Americans could address their needs, obtain legal assistance, and see some evidence that change was at hand. One could argue that the Bureau was, in essence, a form of reparations. Now, hold it. Reparations equals money. Reparations equals tangibles. Reparations is not assistance. It's a little bit more manual. You know what I mean? So, no. It was not. It was not a form of reparations. See, reparations is what we get on our way out. Of that, I almost have no doubt. Next, excuse me. Simply by virtue of doing its work, the Freedmen's Bureau amassed records of the stories, hopes, and disappointments of a people on the cusp of freedom. I like that. These documents reveal the agency of the newly emancipated. Freedom was not given, but was seized and created by people who made a way out of no way. but the documents underscore how difficult the struggle was. Although they make the efforts of individuals and families visible and concrete, the records also reflect how the promise of Reconstruction was derailed by violence, Northern apathy, and the rise of course, Jim Crow. Hey, where are you going to go? Because all you know is wherever you go, there goes Jim Crow, because I said so. You know it, you know? So we see here kind of an ebb and flow of American history that they truly want to remain a mystery. They don't want you to know that they started out helping Negroes. They don't want that out. No, that I have no doubt. They'd much rather sweep this under the rug because they know what actually overtook them. He ended up being a thug. Jim Crow. So Reconstruction. So what we had was an Emancipation Proclamation, nowhere near a Freedom Declaration. Then we had Reconstruction, which, they just couldn't take that. So at that point, it went into violence, Northern apathy, and the rise of Jim Crow. If I hadn't read it, maybe we wouldn't have known. I don't know. Here we go, folks. Let's try it again. The documents unlock the names and experiences of people who are often invisible or silent in the conventional telling of history. A significant portion of the Freedmen's Bureau papers reflect the importance of family, of reconnecting with kin separated by the vagaries of slavery, of protecting children. With freedom came an unyielding desire to find one's self by finding those who'd been sold away. The Freedmen's Bureau, people hoped, could aid in restoring the bonds of family. In the documents, a freed woman named Sena Smith described how her mother had been sold from Virginia to Tennessee. About 18 years passed by Colonel Marshall. Smith hoped that her mother, Eliza Williams, whom she was now able to support in her old age, could be found, and noted that she was a member of the Baptist Church in Nashville. Requests for assistance contained poignant details that might help locate a family member. A freedman named Hawkins Wilson wrote from Galveston, Texas, searching for his sisters, whom he had not seen in the 24 years since he had been sold at sheriff's sale in Virginia. Now let me explain. Let me frame this for you. This happened. Do you understand the stories that are being told here? I mean, you all need to focus real closely on the fact that 24 years passed by and this man knows he was sold at sheriff's sale in Virginia. They look at us and what do they see? I mean, what do you think they're looking at when they look at Negroes? Seriously. All right, let's continue because I'll just get, All right, one of my sisters, Jane, he wrote, belonged to Peter Coleman and Carolyn Kylan. Wilson's letter expressed a belief that the Bureau could reconnect him with his family. I am in hopes that they are all still living, and I have no other one to apply to but you. Wilson drafted an additional letter to be given to Jane. Your little brother Hawkins is trying to find out where you are and where his poor old mother is. I shall never forget the bag of biscuits you made for me that last night I spent with you. He continued by saying he had led a good life and had learned to read and write a little. He said that he hoped that they might see each other, but added that if they did not meet on earth, we might indeed meet in heaven. Given that the letter remained in the files of the Freedmen's Bureau, it is unlikely that Wilson was ever reunited with his family. Numerous letters and depositions describe the frequent terrorist attacks aimed at controlling, intimidating, and killing the formerly enslaved. Some of the violence was random. Jacob Carpenter, the from Gaston, North Carolina, stated to an authority that he had been hunted through the town dodging gunfire and that his life was not safe at any time. Toby Jones of Wilkes County, Georgia, went to visit his wife. 2 men assaulted him. One, he recounted, caught me by my collar and struck me with his fist. Several blows in the face, and he then picked up a rock and ran after me and said he would kill me. White vigilantes also conducted organized raids, focusing their ire on black teachers and ministers and those bold enough to vote. In Tennessee, churches were burned. In Arkansas, the schoolhouse for colored children at Phillips Bayou was burned down and the teacher was ordered to leave. Night riders, vigilantes intent on violently enforcing white supremacy, struck at those who worked to bring change to the South. On the night of April 18th, 1868, 20 mounted men attacked the home of William Fleming of Franklin, Tennessee. A few months later, in nearby Brownsville, a party of freedmen were assaulted on their way home, and 4 of their members shot. The Freedmen's Bureau agent stationed in Tennessee noted that there's an organization who style themselves Ku Klux, and they are committing depredations on colored people, properties, and outages on their person. Still grinning? Where do you think you are, Negro? You think you're surrounded by friendlies? Is that where you think you are? These people procreated. These people had people. You understand that? And the sentiments that these people held back then, they passed on to their people. But nowadays, those people know how to go about and just glide through society without exposing that sentiment that they hide so deeply within each of them. We know it's there because it takes but a tip of the scale, and they'll expose this kind of sentiment. I need you to understand what goes through the minds of individuals that have a hatred they have no idea of its origins. Remember, they hate us without cause. They hate us on sight. You understand that? As they look at your Negro self and smile, they hate you. And you let that sink in a while. It's the truth. If it's not true, why are we going through what we're going through? Let's continue. The Bureau papers highlight the role of women during Reconstruction. Throughout the documents, one encounters black women demanding fair labor contracts, insisting on respect and common courtesy, seeking and providing educational opportunities, and fighting on behalf of their families. Thank God for our Negro women. The paperwork exposes the violence and sexual abuse that were all too common in the lives of black women. When Harriet Kilgore of Chickasaw County, Mississippi, worked for her former enslaver, Landon Kilgore, in 1865, she was punished for working too slowly. I told him I had done nothing for him to whip me. He said he wanted to whip me for some time and thought that I was free. Where do you think those thoughts went? Answer me. Where do you think those kinds of thoughts went? Do you think they died with Mr. Kilgore in 1865, or are those thoughts still breathing and alive? You think if they could whip us and get away with it, they would? In September 1866, Rhoda Ann Childs of Henry County, Georgia, was beaten, tortured, and ravaged. That means raped. By an ex-Confederate soldier, in part because her husband had served in the goddamned Yankee Army. Now you gotta ask yourself, what kind of vile creature does that? I can answer for you. Amanda Willis was forced out of her mother's home in near Springfield, Tennessee, and taken by a white man who brought me down into the woods and had forcible connection with me. That means rape. Women fought back. In Wilkes County, Georgia, in May 1866, Tempe Hill, a freed woman, saw a white man strike another woman, her sister-in-law, Lydia Hill. She left her work in the field and confronted him with the intention of fighting him and to take up for her color. She struck the assailant with a chunk of wood. Well, good. The notion of access to education and to American history through an African-American lens was central to the creation of the National Museum of African American History and Culture, which opened in 2016. I was the founding director. The effort to create the museum ultimately led to a project to make Freedmen's Bureau records available to the broader public. To begin the process of creating a museum, it was essential to understand the knowledge base of future visitors. For 2 years, starting in 2005, the museum conducted surveys throughout the country, reviewed an array of specialized reports on America's understanding of its past, and organized on-the-street interviews that focused on young, diverse participants. The data revealed that respondents had strong and conflicting views about the role, impact, and continuing resonance of slavery in American life. Almost everyone believed that slavery was an important story. Many felt that the museum should focus on how slavery shaped the African American experience. Oh, really? You want to know how it shaped our experience, do you? You know, I got a mind to tell nearly all of them, every one of them that descends from our oppressors. I am drawn to inform them that they will indeed feel the effects that Negroes felt. And it's only appropriate that that be so. You know, it's not just that you understand the effects of slavery. You too must be enslaved to fully appreciate what Negroes had to endure under your tutelage. So I have an answer for that question. And that respondent, gonna be interesting when they go into slavery, huh? All right, let's get back to it. Many did that. An equal number felt that although it was once important, slavery had little meaning and relevance for contemporary audiences. I remember vividly the day when a Black woman returning from church greeted me as we passed on the street. She thanked all those involved in building the museum. But as she hugged me, she whispered, "Whatever you do, don't talk about slavery." To her and others, the museum had a chance to help folks get beyond slavery, to no longer be constrained by a past that some felt was embarrassing. Well, let me tell you something about slavery and its effects. Do you know what you're feeling right now? You're feeling slavery's effects. It's all around you. It's not simply that slavery affects the Negro, it affects the white man. The sense that an individual that you gaze upon as an individual that your ancestors once owned is a powerful, powerful drug. It gives you a sense of entitlement. It gives you a sense of bravado, false sense of security, and that you can intrude on the conversation of Negroes or inquire as to the presence of Negroes or request police come to aid you, to assist you in that inquirement or that presence. Slavery's effects have long been felt. They'll always be felt for as long as we are here and they are not enslaved. It's only when they understand through the experience of being enslaved that we may understand our experiences in being enslaved. All right, let's just get back to it, damn it. What this divide made clear to the museum staff was the need to centralize slavery and freedom as forces that helped define and continue to influence American politics, culture, and economics. But that would not be enough. The museum needed to humanize slavery so that visitors would recognize the strength and resiliency of the enslaved. Oh, they recognize it. They recognize our strength and resilience every day, and it drives them insane. Besides slavery, members of the public were most interested in understanding their own family history. Today, programs like Finding Your Roots on PBS and commercial services like Ancestry.com have made personal history accessible and engaging. But in 2005, the way forward was less clear. In due course, the museum would establish the Robert Frederick Smith Explore Your Family History Center. As we consider the center's role, the staff realized the biggest contribution would be to help illuminate the lives and histories of the enslaved. The obstacles to families trying to recover the stories of enslaved ancestors were immense. For one thing, African Americans were not enumerated by name prior to the 1870 census. That is a cause for pause. First things first, folks, very interesting information, right? This show, this product, brought to you by Twidwear. Twid, it's a brand. Twidwear is the clothing side of the brand. We've also got Twid skincare. You got Twid, I saw Twid water too. You had Twid water there too. And I do want to take kind of a pause for a little bit of, how you say it? You give acknowledgement to the folks that are giving you the support. Twid is a long fought brand. He's been at this for so many years successfully. He is in the Texas area, just to give you a heads up. I'll have him on the show as well. He sponsors this show, and he has been that individual responsible for the improvements that you see. All the suggestions, all the extra shows, the 10-minute moments, all of that can be attributed to Twid. Of course, the Twid gear, of course, is his too. He sent out some gear. And we're gonna make a go of this. We're gonna do this. We do need your support, more so now than most times. But I'll save that for another rhyme. Twid gear, Twidwear, Twid skincare. It's all gonna be branded and it's all gonna be there. All right, so go to twidwear.com. Use the promo code TDRS, The Doug Rice Show. Get 10% off this gear. We got a $149 Twid pack too. It's a shirt, a shorts, hoodie, shoes. Shirts, short, hoodie, shoes. $149 delivered. This is some good stuff, man. Huh? I can pitch this. You know that, right? Huh? Okay, that's the plug session. We're done. Back to, oh, you know what? I forgot the music. I was supposed to do the outro music. We're here, twin gear. Okay, next time I put it. Let's just get to it. All right. I can't think of everything. I can't. I got a lot on my mind too. Got a lot on my mind. But let's get back to it. Here we go, folks. What we're reading, set aside all jokes. Why is America afraid of Black history? That is the book that we're reading. Okay. And let me tell you something, folks. This is the info we're needing. So I'm going to get back to it. Please like, subscribe, share, do all the things you need to down there. If you like the effort, well, let me know, and I'm going to get on with the Doug Rice Show. Here we go. Coffee. All right. The best way to get beyond this barrier lay in the Freedmen's Bureau documents. And the barrier that we speak of is one associated with tracing your lineage beyond the ability for it to be traced. And let me give you a heads up so you know. So we're back. Want to make sure we got the right information, okay? And that is, African Americans were not enumerated by name prior to the 1870 census. So the best way to get beyond the barrier of tracking our family members down lay in the Freedmen's Bureau documents. Generations of scholars, including Ira Berlin, Thavolia Glimpf, and Eric Foner, those names sound interesting, had researched the wealth of information that these papers contained and published scholarly monographs for academic audiences. But access to this trove was too important to be left in the hands of professional historians or made possible only for those who could travel to the National Archives in Washington, D.C., which owns and houses the original records. This understanding led to the creation of the Freedmen's Bureau Project, whose aim was to create a digital portal that would make the Bureau documents searchable by name and subject. Suddenly, hundreds of thousands of personal histories would be available not only to scholars, but also to families in search of their ancestors and, by extension, in search of themselves, helping people find not embarrassment, but strength and inspiration in their enslaved ancestors. The portal could not have been built without an effective collaboration involving the museum, the National Archives, and a pioneering genealogical resource, Family Search, an organization dedicated to helping all people discover their family history. One major challenge was the need to review and transcribe upwards of 1 million pages of documents. Transcription was essential because the records, written in 19th century cursive by many different hands, are difficult for contemporary audiences to read. For this portal to have the desired reach, the documents needed to be transcribed by hundreds, if not thousands, of individuals, an army of trained volunteers whose energy had the additional benefit of helping generate support and enthusiasm for the museum itself in the years before its opening. Much of the success of this ongoing transcription effort can be credited to family research and the community that it nurtured. Steeped in the traditions of the Mormon Church, Family Church had developed technology and processes that proved essential. Quality control was built in. Following its lead, Freedmen's Bureau transcriptions are subject to a two-step review. First, by a volunteer, then by a member of the Smithsonian staff. If additional edits are required at the final stage review, the process begins again. Today, people accessing the Freedmen's Bureau digital collection can see the original documents as well as the transcription. One can tell a great deal about a country by what it chooses to remember, by what graces the walls of its museums, by what monuments are venerated, and by what parts of its history are embraced. One can tell even more by what a nation chooses to forget, what memories are erased, and what aspects of its past are feared. This unwillingness to understand, accept, and embrace an accurate history shaped by scholarship reflects an unease with ambiguity and nuance, and with truth. One frequent casualty of such discomfort is any real appreciation of the importance of African American history and culture for all Americans. Why should anyone fear a history that asks a country to live up to its highest ideals, to make good to us the promises in your Constitution, as Frederick Douglass put it? But too often, we are indeed fearful. State legislatures have passed laws restricting the teaching of critical race theory, preventing educators from discussing a history that might make our children feel guilty about the actions and attitudes of their ancestors. Librarians around the nation feel the chilling effects of book bans. Some individuals who seek to occupy the highest office in the land fear the effects of an advanced placement class that explores African American history, a history that, as education officials in Florida have maintained, lacks educational value. A history does not deserve to be remembered. Well, now we're getting into some answers. Now we're getting into the weeds. Why is America afraid of Black history? That's the heading, I do believe. You know, it might make our children feel guilty. Well, at least they'll feel something. Maybe they won't feel the need to write 200-page manifestos and kill Negroes on a Saturday. Maybe they won't feel the need to harass an 8-, 9-year-old elementary school child, a Black child, to the point that the child commits suicide. Maybe your children will feel something. To think that they believe that the history that we've endured with these creatures isn't worth remembering. It's more a reason we need to leave. They are unrepentant in their attitude. That's what this expresses to me. They don't give a damn about what was done to us. Their favorite term is get over it. They have it on reserve for every Negro that has the nerve to speak up. But when others say something about their history, they're silent as church house mouse is. Please like, subscribe, share. Let's get this information out there. There is no reason to fear a history that, while illuminating the dark corners of America's past, also displays values and expectations that are central to America's identity, an identity they refuse to accept, an identity they refuse to put on. Where is their resiliency, their family, their education, their fairness? America has none of that. The voices within the Freedmen's Bureau papers demonstrate how the African American fight for access to education, economic opportunity, and basic human rights created paths that benefited all Americans except the Black Americans that set it in motion. Oh, I'm sorry, that was me. Rather than running from this history, we should find in it sustenance, understanding, and hope. In the end, can't escape past anyway. What Joe Lewis said of an opponent applies to the legacy of history. You can run, but you can't hide. Let me tell you something, though. They are running, aren't they? They are running for their very lives. Yes, they are. Well, that's the end of the reading. Let me just tell you the end that you'll be needing. This article appears in the December 2023 printed edition with the headline, The Archive of Emancipation. And when you buy a book using a link on this page, we receive commission. Thank you for supporting the Atlantic. Very, very interesting. I believe that would probably be the cover to the book itself. Yes, folks, that is the reading. That is what we were needing. And guess what? I'm short. It is not yet sundown, and I'm in good standing with the Creator Almighty. I can stick around. Thanks so much, folks, for you being here today. I do appreciate it. I'm about to send you on your way. This has been the Doug Rice Show. What else can I say? Brought to you by Twidware, the word of the day. Hey, boy, I'm getting it, ain't I? I'm getting it. Hey, Twidware, you see it. There it is. Go be it. Hey, this is good stuff. I'm wearing Twid gear. You should too. All right, I'm done. It's about Sabbath. I want you all to have a great Sabbath. All praises to the Most High God of all creation and his blessings upon the soon-to-be exiting Negro nation, our second Exodus. Remember, folks, whatever you do, set aside all the jokes. You got to be out there in public places. Get that goddamn grin off your faces. Yeah, I said it. That's what I do. Get out of here.